Clemson's early offers aren't just recruiting news, they're a blueprint. And if history repeats itself, the 2027 class can quietly take shape from the guys offered this summer. We'll talk about it right now on Locked on Clemson.
You are Locked on Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas here, Clemson fan, Clemson grad, host and producer of this show, and part-time host and producer over on 105.5 FM The Roar. Thank you so much for making Locked on Clemson your first listen every day. We're part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. And if you're new to the show, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And for those everydayers out there, thank you for coming back. You know exactly what we do here. We have exclusive Clemson content all throughout the week. And don't forget to follow me in between episodes over on X at The Morgan T Show, where we can talk about all things Clemson however you want. Today, we have a big time discussion on recruiting again. I know you're loving these recruiting videos, so we'll just keep it going, as long as we can until we get hyped up for the 2025 football season, which is just around the corner. I mean, if you think about it, we are getting close to being halfway through June, and before you know it, July 4th will be here, and then halfway through July, and then we'll be getting in talking about fall practice. It'd be crazy to talk about that. Be my first season here with Locked On, so I'm excited for it. But let's get into some recruiting discussion, or continue that recruiting discussion that we've been having all week. And Clemson, again, been showing us who they want for the 2027 recruiting class, and I've been getting extremely hyped about everybody that they have on the list. 21 guys so far. Over the last week or so, Clemson's staff has been really recruiting hard and really sending out those offers. They had a camp that they had a lot of guys come in, these rising juniors. And when I say sophomores rising to a junior, they finished their sophomore season now. They're moving into their junior season in 2026 in high school, and then, 2025 in high school, and then in 2026 will be their senior year, and then 2027 will be their freshman year. They have big names that they sent out offers to on really many different levels: defensive back, safety, linebacker, offensive line, interior and tackles, and then even a quarterback that we mentioned, and possibly some rumors out there that maybe even another quarterback will get on the board soon as well. This isn't just a spray and pray type of strategy. Clemson doesn't do that. They don't just send out a bunch of guys they don't care about, they haven't seen, or that those guys haven't shown interest in the university themselves. And we've seen it with the past couple of years with the way Dabo Swinney does those things, and how he's formed this summer, camp and initial offers. This is what we've been waiting for and getting hyped up for, because this is the start of the 2027 recruiting cycle for Clemson, for Dabo Swinney, and for us, because we're going to be covering it together. The first week offers, when Clemson sends those out from the camp that they start, to me, is kind of a backbone. It's really the start of everything, but not just the start with a bunch of guys that, are all 5-star guys. They're not just elite guys, because they are that's for sure, but they are priority guys, in my opinion, as well. They're guys with that fit the culture really well, that have a high ceiling, a lot of upside, and really a high floor, because they're already very, very good at a young age out of high school. And if history tells us anything, Dabo has had a lot of success with his initial offers in the summer. And this strategy that he's been doing has been so different than all the other teams out there that just immediately, when these guys, some of these guys turn 7 years old and they start getting offers. Clemson doesn't do that. They wait until you are a rising junior to pay your respects or to pay their respects and give you an offer. And they also wait to see, who are the guys that have been coming to camp since middle school? Who are the guys that have been showing interest and aren't just a flash in the pan or just guys chasing after money? Many of these early offers are not only priority guys for Clemson, but guys that actually Clemson gets and they will have and will be commitments by this time next year. So I'm excited to see, because these guys are really important for the future of the Clemson football program, which, we all care about a lot. They're not just chasing headlines. They're not just throwing out a ton of offers. They're sending out a roadmap for us too, to kind of see where are the positions that they care about. What is the staff looking to take extremely serious in 2027? Now, I know you could say, well, they just want to recruit everybody, all the best players. Yeah, that's true. You want to get all the best players, that's for sure. But there is a strategy behind it. If you played, college football video games, you know that you can't take everyone. You don't have enough room for that. You don't have enough money for all that. You have to look at who's leaving, who's not getting a lot of playing now, who's maybe disgruntled, who's graduating, who's going to the NFL early, and figure out where you're going to map it out and do that roster management. Clemson has a general manager now. They have a recruiting coordinator. So they have a lot of staff behind them to help load up with another great set of guys. And this class is loaded with more 4-star guys. It's pretty exciting to see. Their offers, when I look at the specific positions, what are some things that we're not seeing? Well, we're not seeing a ton of defensive tackles right now. We're not seeing a ton of wide receivers or tight ends yet. We're not seeing a ton of running backs or even defensive ends. You're kind of light on those. You have one quarterback, one running back, one wide receiver right now. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, where do you see a heavy focus at the very beginning? Well, it's not quarterback, running back, wide receiver. It is offensive line. They have 6 offers on the offensive line. And actually, even more than that, they have 7 total defensive secondary, if you will. I wouldn't say defensive backs, because there's like 4 cornerbacks and 3 safeties. So that shows me where they are focusing on is offensive line and the defensive secondary right now. And after that, I'd probably say linebacker, because they have 4 with 1 commitment. So there's a huge focus. There's obviously some indication that they need to reload in the secondary. They need to reload at the offensive line. And it's interesting to me too, because the offensive line has 6 current commits, which is more than I've really ever seen it for Dabo from offensive line. They have 6 commits in 2026, possibly could get 7, depending on how things shake out. I've never seen that. Usually he goes with 4, maybe 5 at the most. He's got 6 right now, and they're majority of 4 stars. And then you got immediately 6 more in the very next class. It seems like there's a heavy focus on the line of scrimmage on the offensive side of the ball right now, for sure. And the reason why it's important, again, is because Clemson's offers, when they offer this early, they typically are guys that they really care about and guys that really care about Clemson. These guys have a high chance of becoming a commitment for Clemson. We've seen it year after year. They'll join Clemson because they were offered early, but not just because they were offered early, but because they showed it, they expressed that level of commitment to Clemson, and Dabo Swinney rewards that. High priority guys on this list. So when you go look at the list, you got to know that these guys, these 21 guys they got right now, high priority guys. Offering early shows us a little bit of a blueprint. It gives you a little bit of an insight into what Dabo Swinney's thinking. But to me, if I'm a recruit too, I think, man, I'm their guy. If I'm Peyton Houston, I'm thinking, man, I'm their guy. If I'm David Segar, I'm thinking, I'm their guy. I'm CJ Spiller's guy, So that, to me, helps in recruiting, because Clemson just doesn't throw out 200, 300, 400 offers. They are very strategic with what they're looking for and who they offer. And I know they're not going to land everyone. But as the recruiting heats up, this kind of strategy and purposefulness, if that's a word, really matters to recruits. And we've seen it over time. Clemson not just chasing 5 stars, not just chasing hype, not just chasing anybody that is good, no matter where they live. They're chasing guys that are committed to them, that show an interest in them, that show a fit with the culture that they want. I want to know exactly what my team's going to look like next year and the year after that and the year after that. And these guys on this list of 2027 right out the gate could be potential future Clemson Tigers. It might not be flashy, might not be, hundreds of names out there, but quiet, intentional, selected, calculated, and strategic is what we're seeing. So we'll see how many of these guys actually end up landing. We'll take a list. We'll take a record of this and see what their percentage is. I'm going to start doing my over on X. I'm going to do my table, my chart, my recruiting chart of the big board, if you will. I'll do the recruiting big board. So you can go over on X at the Morgan T Show and check out the recruiting big board and see exactly where we're at. And then I on that board, I also keep a percentage of what their hit rate is for Clemson. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk about Clemson's defensive backs and linebackers, what I think about them, and who they have recruited so far and why it's important. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. I love going over to FanDuelResearch.com. And baseball fans, right now, the MLB has perfect same-game parlays. They've got Mariners versus Diamondbacks tonight in the sports book. It's a big one. You've got Ketel Marte to score a run. He's crushing against righties right now, facing a regressing Logan Evans. That might be a good move for you out there. Eugenio Suarez to get an RBI. He's hot, and he matches up well against Evans as well. Again, struggling against right-handed hitters. I think those are some good ones. Go check it out. See what you think. Be a good time to get in right now. And if you're new to FanDuel, it's always good to get in because it's a perfect time. You can head over to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. This past week, Clemson offered 4 cornerbacks, 3 safeties, 4 linebackers. These are elite athletes from all over the country, guys from IMG, from Fort Mill, Raleigh, Tampa, Texas. You've got 5 stars, you've got 4 stars. You got really a lot of them are 4 stars that are going to be 5 stars. And then you got a couple of guys in there sprinkled in that are still trying to earn respect in the recruiting world. But they all seem to fit exactly what Clemson's looking for. To me, they got a lot of length, a lot of speed, guys that I've seen mentioned as leaders on their high school team, and versatile to play literally multiple positions for Clemson. So if Clemson lands a few of these guys on the early in the early side of this 2025, on the defensive side of the ball, it's going to be great. They could quietly become another big-time class for 2027. Again, I'm looking at 2026, and I'm seeing, a top 5. Right now, some places have them third. Some places have them second. So this could be 2 years in a row, what Clemson is building, to have one of the best teams. And they may not fix Clemson right now. I think Clemson has one of the best teams in the country right now. They don't need any fixing. So let me take that back. They're not going to impact the team, if you will, right now. But these 2026 guys, a lot of them can impact early. 2027 can impact early. 2028, these guys will be those veteran guys. So you're looking 3 years down the road at another, a continuing to fight for an ACC championship game, continuing to fight for a playoff spot, and possibly even a national championship. First up, the guy I've been drooling about since he was committed, or since he was offered, rather, not committed. Don't want to scare you. Don't want to get too far down the road here, but Joshua Dobson, he's the headliner at the cornerback position. He's a top 10 national recruit from Catawba Ridge in South Carolina, and maybe one of the best cornerbacks that Clemson has pursued since A.J. Terrell, since Andrew Booth Jr., since Mackenzie Alexander. This is another guy. He could possibly be better than all those guys. At 6'1", when you look at his huddle film, he's just extremely tall, but for his position and against the guys he's defending, but it's because of his length. He has a good wingspan. He has great hip movement and footwork. He doesn't waste a lot of space, if any at all. He is a true cornerback number one, going to be an elite game changer in specifically a very, very important, a high return on investment cornerback position. So if you're asking me, who do I want 2027? It is definitely that. You've got to win in your state. You've got to win the elite recruits when you have them. I know it's tough up there around Charlotte for Clemson to land recruits, but I think that they have a big opportunity there, and there is some interest there from Joshua Dobson. We'll have to keep monitoring that as it goes. Next up is something that I haven't talked about much, but the linebacker position. Ben Boulware is trying to rebuild what they have. They've had a few good options there, and then they had a couple of years where they kind of was lackluster. But every now and then, overall, when you look at 10 years worth of linebackers, Clemson's done great at linebackers. But there was a couple of years sprinkled in the past 5 years that they didn't do so well. So Ben Boulware is trying to put his fingerprint on this. He's already got Max Brown, Sammy Brown's younger brother, committed. And you know my story. I talked to his mom. She says he may be even better than Sammy. They've offered Cooper Witten, Jason Witten's son. We'll see how it goes from him out of Texas. Caden Henderson, I know a guy who's extremely interested in Clemson, and Quentin Cipher, also another guy who's extremely interested in Clemson. When you look at these guys, they're all top 200 players. And typically what happens is they continue to grow and build. They're already top 200 now. What will they be a year and a half from now? Could be some of the best linebackers in the country. And Clemson is getting in right at the right time. Cooper Witten, one of the best in the country. It'd be great to get him. It seems like for whatever reason, Dabo resonates with former players from all over the country because of his leadership style and his focus on development on and off the field. But even just one out of this group of guys is a huge success for Clemson, and they already have one. So getting two out of the first four that they offer could be huge to lock up the position and make a huge impact in a couple of years. And you've got some legacy guys thrown in there as well we haven't talked about, but I wanted to give them some respect. Christian Chancellor Jr. Chris Chancellor was the cornerback when I was younger, when I was in high school, college, and he was their cornerback number one. A little bit undersized, struggled at times in the red zone, but was a great player for Clemson overall. A guy you could count on. He was going to be out there day in and day out. He was going to play through injury, and he was going to be a leader on the team. And he's a leader in the community now. So it's pretty cool to see him get an offer. See his son get an offer. Not yet rated as well. The same for defensive back Harrison Luke, Matt Luke's son. Not yet rated. Maybe they won't get nationally rated. But they're from known programs. D.W. Daniel is a good program. North Oconee is a good program. Both, they obviously know what Clemson's all about. They're not going to do anything to make Clemson worse. That's for sure. Are they developmental at their positions? Probably so. Yeah. But, Dabo's going to play those Dabo culture plays. And, with roster seemingly to expanding, I think it's okay. You're not going to have walk-ons like this anymore. You're not going to have reserve players like they had in the past, but you're going to have still enough scholarships out there to, it's not going to be a negative for the team. And these guys could really shape up and build into their own. There's been a lot of guys we have doubted over the years, like Josh Sapp, for example, and Jaheim Lawson, who have slowly made a name for themselves. Maybe they weren't as popular as their dads, but or their brother, but they're slowly building into their own, and guys that you can trust to do the right thing and stay committed to the process and the culture that Clemson's trying to do. Now, I know Clemson's going to have to fight for a lot of these guys. Dobson, Moon, the third, Witten. It's going to be national battles that we may not see come to an end until the very end. And the way NIL is, it's going to shift things very quickly. But I think Clemson's track record at defensive back, at secondary, at safety, at linebacker is very strong. Ben Boulware's a guy you can trust. Mike Reed's a guy you can trust. Mickey Kahn's a guy you can trust. And you can trust their evaluations. And you can trust their ability to develop them and get them into the NFL. So I'm looking forward to what Tom Allen and the staff can do. Clemson's early offers show you exactly who they're looking forward to. And if they land just a handful of these guys, just half these guys that they offered, could be huge to continuing Clemson's success on the recruiting trail. All right, we're going to finish up giving some love to Matt Luke and what he has been doing the past, really, 2026, 2027, and building his offensive line master plan. Six offensive linemen, all 6'4" or taller, all nationally ranked, all offered in the same week. Matt Luke isn't playing around. Clemson's offensive line in 2026 that he's built is impressive, but 2027 could be even more ambitious. The Tigers have offered 4 offensive tackles, 2 interior linemen, all of them with, Power 5 big-time measurables. And Kennedy Brown is the guy I'm drooling over from Texas. Reed Ramsier from Florida. Elite bodies, elite potential. Early relationships like this could really pay dividends, and being able to offer them early to show how much you care really shows what Matt Luke is looking forward in 2027. 2026 and 2027, we could look back at this and look at they were the foundational years for some of the best offensive linemen that Clemson has ever had, ever. It's been a long time since Clemson has had, a handful of all ACC guys being able to have the best offensive linemen in their conference. Now, back during the national championship years, that's what Clemson had. But Clemson has never recruited this many offensive linemen at once. And it really shows me and they have really no offers in 2027 for defensive tackles. That's kind of shocking for me for Dabo. Over the years, Dabo seems to have leaned very heavily on defensive line, year after year, defensive line. Win the line of scrimmage on the defensive side of the ball. But what we may be seeing right now is that he's letting Matt Luke run wild and build up his side of the ball. And maybe it's because of confidence, and maybe it's because secretively Chris Rump and Nick Eason need to step up their game a little bit. I don't know. Maybe it's some of that too. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but I'm going to lean more towards on Matt Luke getting the keys to build up a foundation of a massive amount of offensive linemen. Like I said, you're offering 6 out the gate. You already have 6 committed. You come out with a splash with your first offer of Kennedy Brown. Already many people saying he's going to be an All-American. He's going to be a first-round draft pick. one of the best players in the country, 6'4", 280, a rising junior. His footwork is elite. His upper body strength is elite. He is the prototype offensive tackle that you would want on any team in the country. They're not wasting their time with this. I think that they believe that they are in the hunt. Also, they got flexibility. 6'6" Jimmy Callis, 6'5.5" Carter Jones could play a big time role in the inside. And also on the outside. Those guys are very versatile. Ramsier, Peyton Miller, both seem to be really excited about their Clemson offers. Could be a opportunity at the guard position or maybe even a center. This is a true foundational list of guys that Matt Luke wants to get, not just patchwork set of guys. It's definitely, what I think Matt Luke is going to lay down as his legacy, 2026, 2027. Whether he's on the team as in the staff or not, which I think he will be, but these are the kind of guys that can kind of propel you for 27, 28, 29, and into the future, whatever it may hold for Clemson as a brand and as a football program. And it's not just a huge amount of early volume for no reason. I think that Dabo trusts Matt Luke's evaluation. I think Dabo trusts how Matt Luke is coaching right now. And it's really cool to see. Again, I haven't seen this amount of offers and commitments in 2 years, maybe ever. I think Clemson knows exactly what they want. And Dabo said, hey, Matt, go get them. And hopefully, if Clemson lands just half these guys, which there's a huge percentage that's a huge chance that is the case, you're building to the future of maybe even half a decade worth of 5 years worth of elite offensive linemen at Clemson. And that kind of stuff, when you do that and you build that and you get those guys to the NFL, that in itself is a recruiting tool. Will they take all six? If they landed all six and six, and you'd have 12 in just 2 years, whew, I don't know if that is actually what they plan on doing. And maybe that is the case. Maybe with Dabo's new strategy with the 105 or whatever, maybe he's saying, you know what, let's put an extra emphasis on the offensive line and defensive line, with a heavy focus on offensive line and secondary right now, at least. So I'm curious to see how it all shakes out. But if Clemson wants to compete in the playoff era, if Clemson wants to continue to get back to the playoffs and continue to compete for a national championship, you know what they need. You've said it to me many times, and you know what I'm about to say. They have to win the line of scrimmage. They have to win the trenches. And to me, this is a direct response to what the challenges Dabo's been facing in the regular season and in the postseason. And he has the best guy to do it, in my opinion, in Matt Luke, to lead the charge. All right. I appreciate everyone being a part of the show. Thank you so much again for making Locked On Clemson your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show with Brian Smith. He has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes of the college football landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And thank you again for supporting this channel. As always, Tiger fans, we'll see you at the top of the hill.